Chav base, Chav Gimel. Chav Gimel Amar Alf at the bottom. Masisa Peter Rebbe Lezer. Rebbe Lezer is the one who said you can't. 3 lines at the bottom. Rebbe Lezer is the one who said you can't give anything over to a fetus. Yeah, we had a machlok that says Shmuel says you can be mizaka to a fetus. Rebbe Lezer says you cannot. So if I'm Mishnah seats, so I Rebbe Lezer says ger shemaitz, a ger who died. Ubizbis now, a ger, of course, when he dies, all his property becomes hefker. So let's say a ger died. Ubizbis Yisrael's nechas of all the Jews. They seized his property and they took hold of it. And then they found out that he has a kid. They weren't aware of the kid, but he has a kid in Chutz La'aretz. Or what's more concerned is more importantly here, that the ger's wife was pregnant, and that therefore there was going to be a kid. They have to give back everything. So this seems to be a proof against Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer. What did Rabbi Lezer do for this? The Chorah, this seems to indicate that the Uber acquires things, even though it's only a fetus. He owns all the property.
When did they give it back?
Good question. I assume right away they have to give back to the state. Well, the one's going to discuss that. Let's see. So it says more. No, Shani Yochim Neshu, but no, here it's different because here it's his son. Now, what it means by that, according to the Bnei Moshe, I believe is the better pshat here, is that the Carbonated, Carbonated says it's because Bnei Moshe, whatever, they both say the same thing. They say that because it's an inheritance. It's an inheritance. It's not a kinyan. To be makner, blessed, you cannot give something over as a sale or as a form of acquisition to a fetus, but the fetus does inherit the parent, the deceased parent. So here it's a form of inheritance, and inheritance does work. Okay? The same applies to Rabbi Shmuel. So at the end of the same brisa argues on Shmuel. From that which it says, Rabbi Yossi. From that which Rabbi Yossi says. What does it say? Let's say they gave everything back before the kid was born, like you asked me, right? So they gave it back before the kid was born. And then the kid died, Oshei Pila, or the mother who was carrying the fetus miscarried, right? And the kid was stillborn. So then people go and seize the property over again. So whoever grabs the property first, the second time around, Zacha, he gets the property. But Rishoina, the guys who grabbed the first time, even though they had prior claim, Lo Zacha doesn't work. Says more, why? I feel Rishoina, it should be Yizke. Even the people who grabbed first should own the property, right? Why should own the property?
It was illegal at the time.
It was legal at the time. No. Look. Even though Shmuel said that fetuses can acquire stuff, it's only retroactively from the time that the fetus came out the majority of its head and torso alive. So therefore, why do the first people lose their claim? They should retain their claim. They should say, our claim was contingent. That's true. And the kid being stillborn. But since the kid was stillborn, so retroactively, whatever acquisition he might have had, he never achieved. So therefore, the property should belong to us, the people who laid the first claim. Should people who laid the second claim should have to clear out in front of the people who laid the first claim. So it says the Gemara, right? Wasn't a sustainable fetus, and even Shmuel holds that in order for the fetus to acquire, it has to be that it was a sustainable fetus, right? So it says the Gemara. Very interesting, fundamental Gemara. The truth is, you're right. Theoretically, the first people should retain ownership, but we know that when they relinquished the property back to the state, they were misyuayish from it. They tacitly, right, relinquished their rights. Wives never inherit. Wives never husband. They inherit neither husbands nor children. Like Tolstoy, right? Okay. Rabbi, sorry, and so because they tacitly relinquished their rights, called Yeush, that's why they can't get it back. Rabbi Chia Bar B'Shem Rabbi Abba Bar Nozan said, Chazabo Rabbi Lezer. It says here Rabbi Nosson, but it should be Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer, who said that an Uber can acquire reneg from the following brisa. The person says, Im Zochar, if my wife gives birth to a male mana, let the kid get $100. In a Keva Masai, if my wife gives birth to a female, let her get $200. When a Keva Gaba Lo Be'inyan Ke'achadu, a girl vis-a-vis acquisition, is she not like somebody else? Now, it's what it means is that Yerusha can work by a boy, but Yerusha doesn't work by a girl unless there are no boys. So here, how can he say that? Oh, you're not going to be able to hear me back there. Okay, moving right along. So if it's no, he's not doing it. He's not giving it. So he really wants to sit at the head of the table. So if I understand that a male, you can say that there's Yerusha, right? But a female, there's no Yerusha, right? It's really not automatic Yerusha. So how can the Mishnah say that if he says he wants to give $200 to his fetus daughter, that it works? It must be that you can be mezakeh to ubar. It must be that you can make a kinyan. Thank you. Make a kinyan with the fetus. Now the Bavli, of course, paskins, although the Yerushalmi doesn't bring it down here explicitly, but explicitly it's here as well. It's only your own child. It's not anybody else's kid. But you can be mezakeh ubar to your own kid, because we say there's Gemirus Das, there's complete intent to do so, and therefore even your own kid who's not relevant to Yerusha, the acquisition works. And of course that's not like Rebbe Lezer, because Rebbe Lezer reneged on what he said. Okay, even Rebbe Lezer who said the mezakeh ubar will not work, crumpled before this price, which indicates that at least being mezakeh to ubar to your own kid, that does work. Okay, to provide the acquisition to your priest.
It's not Yerusha, so why can't you be mezakeh to ubar to someone else's child?
You don't take it seriously. That's what the Bible says in Babas is lack of Gemirus Das. It's a lack of true and complete intent. I mean, it might be that's a chiddush, but that's what Yerushalmi Bavli says. Okay, says Martai Bar Kapora says Ben Yoimo Zachin Lo. If a child's a day old, of course, all bets are off. You can be mezakeh him like a regular human being, right? It's only a question here of an ubar, of a fetus. But a kid who's a day old already, that's already considered to be a fully viable entity in and of itself, and therefore you mezakeh him.
You don't have to wait for 30 days.
You don't have to wait 30 days, right? That's the chiddush. Okay? Alright, on we go. This part of Yevamos tonight is really like a regular Gemara. Okay, HaKodesh is Yevimto. If you acquired your Yevamah, Benimtis Mubaris, and she was found to be pregnant, V'yolda, and she gave birth. So it becomes it's a sustainable child. Yoitzi, he's got to divorce her. Well, he doesn't divorce her. The Yibum never took effect, obviously, since she had a child. He just gets rid of her. They require carbon. Why? Because they transgressed the major sin of a brother's wife when there was no Yibum. If the child is not a sustainable one, you can keep the kid. Keep the woman. Something we're not sure if the kid is a 9-month term baby from the dead husband, or a 7-month term baby from the Yavam. Yoitzi's got to divorce her because perhaps it was not. Got to get rid of her because perhaps it was not Itzke but rather the deceased brothers. But blood kosher, but the kid is kosher anyway, because either it's the first husband's, in which case okay, or it's the second husband's, and there was no first husband, that's okay too. The Chavim Basham Toli, you have to bring an Asham Toli. What's an Asham Toli? Remember, the Asham Toli is it's the carbon you bring, but you're not sure if you transgress an Aveh or not. Okay, my place site is amazing Chiddush. Ready? About to see amazing Chiddush? Rabbi Yosef, he said, anytime you'll be able to ascertain if you transgress an Aveh or not, and a Sabi, you don't bring Asham Toli. The only time one brings an Asham Toli is if you'll never be able to know if you transgressed Aveira or not. It's an amazing concept. And the Bible doesn't bring this down. So it's only Yerushalmi. If you will be able someday to know whether you transgressed Aveira, you don't bring an Hashem Toli. It's only if you'll never be able to know whether you transgressed Aveira or not.
So if you have a possibility that you know, what do you bring?
Nothing. You wait till you find out.
It may take years.
Do tshuva. What do you do nowadays? Okay? It's actually a thing, I'm trying to figure out some way to put this in my Shabbos Shuvah Drosha. It's such a powerful concept. Right? New Chiddush. So, Keita, hey Chavir, what's the case? Hayavon of Shnei Zeisim. You had in front of you 2 olives. They weren't olives, they were meat the size of olives. One is forbidden fat, one is permissible fat. And you ate one of them. The other one is in a box. Right? And he says, of course, since I can find the key, they don't know what it is. Are you chayav on this safek Hashem Toli? Obviously, the answer will be not, according to Rabbi Yossi, right? Because you'll be able to open the box and find out what it is, right? So says Mara, Nishmini me'adot, so from here. It says Yevim to. Right, when you go take your Yevama, it's Mubarak, she found to be pregnant. Now, why does the Mishnah not bring down the following statement? Why does the Mishnah not say, actually, Vadalim ben Kayamu, Imenu ben Kayama, maybe? Why does it say, if you don't know yet if the kid is viable or not? No, it's in the interim, you found she was pregnant. You got a few months before she gives birth. You don't know if the kid is viable or not. Why'd you bring Hashem Toli in that interim period? The Chayr of Hashem Toli is to protect you from potential spiritual retribution until you know if you committed an Aveira or not. So you should bring in the Hashem Toli during those months in which you're unsure if the fetus from the first husband will be viable or not, right? Yet the Mishnah does not give us such an alternative. Why not? This obviously teaches us that if we, at some point in the future, we'll be able to ascertain with certainty whether the Aveira was committed or not, then until such time we do not bring the Hashem Toli. And we wait to see whether it was committed. And when the kid is born, we see if it was viable or not viable. You only bring the Hashem Toli if it's a case where it will never be able to be clarified. What's the case? The last case in the Mishnah, where you will not, they didn't have DNA testing. You don't know if the kid is the first husband or the second husband. You never know whose it is. That can be Hashem Toli because it's a suffix which will never be nisbarer, will never be clarified. Okay? Chiddush, right? Not in Bavli. Big Chiddush. Here's more further. Rav Amar. Now, there's a lot of machlokas here in the Mefarshim what exactly Rav is saying. I don't really like the Ridbaz, because Ridbaz seems to make the most sense here. Rav Amar, assimilating to Rabbi Yossi. Anytime you can check it and know for sure. So here, according to Ridbaz, you do read the word ein. You read it. You don't bring a suffix Hashem Toli. So that sounds like the same thing as Rabbi Yossi. What's in Shinim Rabbi Yossi? So Ridbaz explains, it's going to become clear from as you go on. But so the difference is that Rabbi Yossi says it's got to be possible to clarify it after the event. Rav says it has to have been possible sometime. It's got to be impossible to clarify after the event. Rav adds true. It has to be something which is impossible to clarify after the event, but something which was clarifiable at some point in time. You could have clarified at some point in the past. Now you can't, but you could have at some point. It was something which you could never ever have clarified, could never have known either way. So it's almost onus, really. In that case, you don't bring an Hashem Toli. Okay? So that's something according to Rav, where now you can't clarify it, but at some point it could have been clarified. Okay? How so? Hey Chavido. If you had 2 pieces of meat in front of you, one a forbidden fat and one a permissible fat, and we ate one of them, and a raven came and ate the second one. Me'achar, now here the word she'eno is a typo according to almost all of them portion. Me'achar shehu, it should be. She'yochol lamra vadoyo. Since in the time between the time you ate one and the raven came, you could have checked it out and found out whether you're chayiv, what the other piece was, and know by chemical analysis what you ate is, right? So and since you could have checked it out, you don't bring on it safek hashem toli, because it's a safek she'ef shalavara. When is it ef shalavara? Before the raven comes and takes another piece. However, what about the other way around? If first the raven ate one of those two pieces, and then he ate the other piece, then since in this case since in this case you no longer can figure out what it was, now again, you could have found out at some point, right? You have to be able to find out at some point prior to having indulged in the sin, right? But after the sin is over, then you can no longer find out. That's the case in which you bring an Ashram Toli. Okay? Excuse me? Okay, according to Rabbi Yossi, the only time bringing an Ashram Toli is when you can't find out what it was, right? So, but you'll never know if you actually sinned or not. Rav says it's true. Only that's saying you never will know if it's sinned or not. However, that at one point you could have known if it was a sin. In other words, prior to you having sinned, you could have figured it out. But if it was never ever known, it was never possible to know whether you sinned or not. So then in that case, you simply will not bring an Ashram Toli.
But an example with the raven, why if the actually a second one, it didn't do anything. The raven ate both pieces.
What?
The raven ate both pieces.
No, you ate, if the raven ate one, you ate one.
Oh, both pieces?
Yeah. The question whether the raven ate before you ate or after you ate.
Oh.
If he ate after you ate, so there's no Ashram Toli. Because there was a time when you could have checked out the other piece and known. If there's a time you ate, the raven ate before you ate, then you couldn't bring an Ashram Toli. So the time you ate, there was no way of knowing. Yeah. Okay, it says more further. Wait a minute. It says the Gemara. Wait a minute, I understand this. Lokin Amarav, top of Chav Tam Rav. Lokin Amarav, now this is a Bavli, this is also in the Bavli. Lokin Amarav, Ushio Chel, in front of Chel Baro, there are two conditions in Hashem Toli. One is you can't find out anymore, that's the Yerushalmi's condition. But there's also the Bavli condition, which is you need to have what's called in the Bavli Ikba Yisura. Now Ikba Yisura means that at the time that you commit the Aver, we pass it this way. You have to have, it's machloks in the Bavli, but we pass you have to have Ikba Yisura. At the time you commit the Aver, you have to have two pieces in front of you, Chelev and Shuman. And you picked one. Not to have one piece which is Savik, Chelev, Savik, Shuman, and you ate it. That's not called Ikba Yisura. Ikba Yisura means the Isur is set, fixed in front of you. So you don't bring an Ashram Toli unless it's Ikba Yisura. Is that clear? No? If I have one piece in front of me, right, I eat a piece of meat, I don't know if it's Chelev or Shuman, I don't bring an Ashram Toli. I bring an Ashram Toli if I knew there was two pieces in front of me. I paid Russian roulette. I knew there was two pieces in front of me. One of Chelev and Shuman, I ate one of them, I don't know which one. Okay? Then that was Ikba Yisur, meaning there was definitely an Isur there. And I went ahead and did it anyway, then I bring an Ashram Toli. But if it's not definitely an Isur there, because it's only one piece, we don't know what it was, so then that's not so for example, if you eat a piece of meat of certain hashkochas, right? So that's not, you don't bring Ashram Toli for that, because it's only one piece of meat. But if you had, let's say, one piece of that meat and one piece of kosher meat, and you ate one of that, you get the idea. Okay, it says, so here, once the raven takes one away, it's not Ikba Yisur anymore, right? If the raven took away a piece before you got to it, so it's not Ikba Yisur, how can it be Chayav Ashram Toli, right? So it says, when I got the Rabbi Marbushi Chel in front of Chel Boror. Interesting thing, even though Rav holds that you need to have Ikba Yisura, here he agrees that here he agrees that since at some point you were able to I wrote something in my Gemara. I don't even know what I wrote here. I wrote a Rashi Tavis. I don't know what I was writing. What? Yeah, it's either or, but I'm trying to figure out what I wrote here. I can't figure out what I wrote. Sure, yeah, so it's either or. It's either you need Ikba Yisura or you need to have a case where you cannot clarify. But it's either or that generates a chiv of Hashem Toli according to Rav. Either it's Ikba Yisura, there are two pieces here in front of you, one of which is definitely also, or there's only one piece, but it's never able going to be clarified what it was. Then that's sufficient reason being Hashem Toli. Okay? Masisa Pliga Rav. Now, following Brisa, my Mishnah, I don't know, remember what it is exactly, seems to argue on Rav. It says, koi. Remember what a koi is? We don't know what it is. If it's a behem or a chaya, so if it's a behem, the chaylev is also. If it's a chaya, the chaylev is mutter, right? So you ate the chaylev. Koi, Rabbi Lezer, Mar Chayovin, Al Chaylev, Hashem Toli. The chaylev and it's also Al Chaylev, Hashem Toli. Ma'avid Rav, where's the Ikba Yisura here? Right? Where's the Ikba Yisura? There's only one piece of chaylev. It's not chaylev and shuman, it's only one piece, so how's the Ikba Yisura? But the law, so he explains, Chalukah, Tiv Rabbi Lezer. Erachanami, the Rabbanon argue Rabbi Lezer. They say don't bring a Hashem Toli on the fat of a koi because it's not Ikba Yisura. Because they only have one piece, no other piece which is definitely osir. And Ikba Yisura which require you to have two pieces.
You definitely know where the chaylev is from. You don't know about the animal being.
Yeah, but that might be enough to make it Erev Shar Levarer. Since you have no way of finding out the status of the koi, that might make it Erev Shar Levarer. That's a good question. But Shumar doesn't deal with it. Kumar kind of sidesteps it. When Rav said Erev Shar Levarer, does it mean Erev Shar Levarer because we don't know the reality, what it was, or Erev Shar Levarer because we don't know what the din is? And here it's not a suffix in Metzias, it's a suffix in din, which would be an interesting question, but the Gemara just ignores that whole issue. Okay? Says the Gemara, Masisa Pliga Rav, the following Mishnah seems sorry, Rav. It says, Chaticha Shechuli v'Chaticha Shel Kodesh, you have one piece of Chuli and one piece of Kodesh. And one piece, with Kodesh, of course, now it's all the Sachas Me'em, he ate one of them. You don't know which one he ate. Maybe Hashem Toli. You mean Hashem Toli, questionable one, right? What if he ate the second one? Well, then, for sure, one of them was Asher. Maybe Hashem Vada, in that case, bring a definite Asher. What Hashem Vada, what definite Hashem, as opposed to question one? Hashem Me'ilos, because you committed Aver Me'ilah. Right? You ate Kodesh, you drive another for Kodesh, but now you bring Hashem Me'ilos, right? Says the Gemara, Achos Rishon, what if Reuven ate the first piece, Uvachim Achos Rashi, and Shimon ate the second piece, right? Zeh maybe Hashem Toli, but Zeh maybe Hashem Toli. So Mishnah Brisa says each one brings an Hashem Toli, or Mishnah, whatever it is. Says Mara, whoa, Nichol Rishon maybe Hashem Toli. I understand the first guy brings an Hashem Toli because when he ate it was Ikba Yisura, because there are two pieces in front of him, one of a Kodesh, one of Chol, right? However, Shani Lama, why is the second guy bringing Hashem Toli? By the time he ate, there's only one piece. It's not Ikba Yisura anymore. Says Rabbi Yisrael, but it said, fascinating answer. He says, Tipat T'shoyta Chaticha Gedoyla. It's a big piece. The second piece is a big piece. I mean, the first piece is a big piece. So the first guy only chomped out half of it. So by the time the second guy came, there's still two pieces there. He ate half and left half it. Now, it's a long Tziyun Yerushalmi here. He talks about Bittul Barov. Because generally speaking, Ikba Yisrael means they're precisely the same size. If one of them is bigger than the other, then you say Bittul Barov. Either Isser is Batal and the Heter is Batal and Isser. So even if it was precisely the same to begin with, once one guy takes a bite out of it, so now it's smaller than the other piece, so you say Bittul Barov. So why didn't you say Bittul? So he goes into the whole discussion of it now. It's kind of a extraneous question. Because we can set up the case in which took a bite out of both. Somehow we can set it up.
Bittul Barov doesn't have to be.
Bittul Barov goes by volume.
took a bite of both, then definitely.
Even though they're separate pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, and not by volume, not just by number, it goes by volume too.
Took a bite of both, and definitely ate the one.
That's where you have to say one. Right, you have to find some way of saying it. But anyway, he does speak about great length. Says the Gemara, Matzisa Pliga Rav. What about the following Mishnah? Seems sorry, Rav, our Mishnah. Ben Sabik Ben Tishal Rishon Ben Shivalach. We don't know if the kid is 9-month term baby from the first husband, from the deceased brother, or 7-month term baby from the surviving brother. You have to divorce. You have to get rid of the Yevama. V'avah kosher the kid is okay. V'chayim ashtav, but they bring Nashim Toli. Hooray! In this case, Efshar. It says here Efshar, but everybody changes the kiddush to Efshar. Efshar lamana vadoyo. You can't tell what it was. Now this is switching to the other component, Rav. Remember, Rav said it must be that at some point he could have been able to tell the difference, but now he can't tell the difference anymore. So in that case, you're bringing Nashim Toli. But here, no, you could never have known whose kid it was. How are you ever going to know whose kid it was? At what point in time could you have known? Remember, we said according to the Ritbaz, according to Rav, it has to be that at some point he could have known whose kid the truth, and then he lost capacity to know the truth. That's you bringing Nashim Toli. But if at no time there was capacity to know the truth, so there's no Nashim Toli. So where was there capacity at any point in time to know the truth of the status of the child? The Gemara gives an unbelievable answer. But again, says Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi said, Kaim Rabbi Zira. Kumi Rabbi Chia Barba. Rabbi Zira sustained our mission before Rabbi Chia Barba. Rabbi Chizka and Rabbi Chia Barba said, Kaim Rabbi Zira Kamina. Rabbi Zira said, sustained in front of us. It was very different yourselves who said what. But anyway, everybody wants credit for this Gavaldik Alum answer. What's the answer? So the answer is a very cool one, as I said. Says the Gemara, at the time that the Yavam did Yibum, he could have just inserted his Aver and immediately separated from her. Had he done that, at that point he would have committed Avera, right, of having had relations with his wife, his brother's wife, who was ostracism because it turns out she was pregnant, yet have not come to the point of impregnating her, or potentially being the one responsible for her pregnancy. At that point, he could have known. The fact is, he messed himself up by completing the biyah and releasing his seed inside of her, so he potentially could have impregnated her. So therefore, there was a point in time after having committed Aver where he could have known the truth of whether he had committed Aver, whether he had committed an Aver or not, and then he went down and messed himself up, put himself in a situation where he no longer can know. But since there was that moment in time which he could have committed Aver and known whether it was actually an Aver or not, and then had he split at that point and waited to see if she was pregnant or not, so that's considered to be enough to bring an Ashram Toli. Okay? Isn't that a cool answer? This is not going to go on my Shabbos Shuvah Drasha, even if I find a way to speak about the Sugya. But it certainly is a cool answer. Okay? So it says the Gemara, again, since you could have begun to be and separated, and known at the point it was from him or the other guy, B'mashu, for that split second, and he could have known what it was. And that's enough. That's what makes the Chayiv the Ashram Toli. Okay, period. That's the end of that. New Sugya. Manake, what are we talking about? Let's get back to the end of our Mishnah. If he had relations with her after the husband's death immediately, they came back from the Kavura, and they immediately, he did right? He did it even right away. So what are we talking? If right after the death he did the Ibum, right? So that's the case. Miyad Hukara Bar. So I'm sorry. Im B'Shabbar Miyad Miyad Hukara Bara La'achar and then it becomes recognizable, the kid. 2 months later. Could be either one of theirs, right? Could be Ben Tess of either one or Ben Zion of either one, right? It means, there's no way of knowing. Maybe the husband had relations the night before he died. He had relations the night after the husband died. So there's no way of knowing whose kid it is. The Gears is a little bit messed up here. I'm not sure exactly how you read it. But in any event, no matter what, it could be either one's kid from either term, right? Okay. So let's say about your relations are after 2 months after the husband died, right? Which is a month too early. So Vukar Bar Lachar Shosh Chodashim, and that it says you can only tell whose kid it is 3 months later. That doesn't make any sense. Does mean you can't do Yibor Chalitz until after 5 months? In other words, sounds like no matter what, whenever he did the Bia, he still has to wait 3 months after that to check out who the kid is. Can't be. If he did the Bia 2 months later, then 1 month after that, why you have to wait 3 months. El Kenakim. So it says more very interesting answer. It says, what does it mean you have to wait 3 months after he has relations? We're talking about precisely this case. We're talking about you have relations after 40 days. 40 days after the husband's death. And the kid is recognizable 50 days later. Okay? 90 days altogether. 40 plus 50 equals 90. Right? So if it's the first husband's baby, it's a 9-month baby. Because you have 3 months and then the next 6 months. However, the second guy only has a broken 7 months. Meaning he's got 9 months minus 40 days, right? Right, because he had relations with her 40 days afterwards, right? So he's got 9 months, 40 days, which is actually 7 months and a pregnancy of 7 months and change. 7 months and 20 days, right? Correct?
That would be the 8th month.
The 8th month between the 8th month and the 9th month. Not?
It's between the 7th and 8th.
Right, between the 7th and the 8th month, that's right. Okay? So it's arranged Kashem Shem Kutayim L'Sheni. Now, Shreiner, this is Rav Sha'isha Yoledes L'Chodashim Kutayim. A woman who gives birth after 7 months, it can be in the middle of the month, right? It doesn't have to be beginning, it can be in the middle or the end of the month. For this you derive also. Shade Tzirus that there are 2 possible types of children. One is 7-month term, and one a 9-month term, right? Achmami also derive from a Mishnah. Sha'isha, turn the page, should be Sha'isha, should be Sha'ena Isha, Misaberes, V'chozeres, Misaberes. One can't get pregnant twice. Why? Because otherwise they have big problems. Let's say she gave birth to twins. So we have to say perhaps one of the kids is from the first husband, the other kid's from the second husband. So since the Gemara Mishnah never discussed such a case, it must be that a woman can't get pregnant and then get pregnant again with another kid afterwards, which is actually something the Gemara discusses. Right? Which can't happen, right? So you also hear that a woman cannot become pregnant simultaneously from two different people, because if she could, so I guess it would have the problem that maybe if they had relations shortly after each other, right? He died, they had relations, died, and then the next guy had relations right afterwards. So maybe the kid would be from both parents, which would cause him an interesting status. So that clearly can't happen. This argues on the rabbis of the Agadata, the darshaning rabbis. Never trust those darshaning rabbis. Rabbanan Dagata, only the rabbis of the Agadata said, Goliath. The person came out from the middle, from the armies of the Philistines. So the Gemara, the rabbis of the Agadata darshan, he came out from among many Philistines. That he came out from 100 foreskins of Philistines. That 100 Philistine men had relations with her mother, and she conceived Goliath as a composite of all 100. So obviously that's not medically possible. That's what Gemara is saying. I said, no, v'lo pligi, not true, they don't argue. Before the seed ferments in the woman's womb, two people's, I guess, sperm can penetrate the egg. I don't think it's medically correct either, but I guess theoretically, I guess. Once the seed ferments, however, you can't have two people impregnating her simultaneously. I don't know that there are two different terms for babies. Rabbi Zira B'Shem Ravuna says Vayitzer. It's an extra yud. He created. Yitzir l'shiva, Yitzir l'tisha. So that certain babies are term after 7 months, certain term after 9 months. No l'shiva, no l'shmona. Notes, I'm sorry. Notes are shiva, but no l'shmona. If a kid, now this is a very interesting thing, which I don't recall the Bavli ever being down. If a kid is a 7-month term baby, and he stays in the womb late, into the 8th month chai, he survives. Right? Koshke and Tisha certainly stays in the womb another extra month. He dawdles in there to the 9th month, he certainly is going to survive. However, Naitzo Tisha, if a kid is one of the 9-month term babies, V'no l'shmona, and he gets born after during the 8th month, Eino chai. He doesn't survive. Okay, so 7-month kids can dawdle around and be viable, but 9-month kids cannot be precocious and viable. They're born at term, not prior to that. Okay. Says Gemara, if a kid who's a 9-month kid gets born after 8 months, he doesn't survive. Certainly, he gets born after 7 months, he doesn't survive. Now. How do you know that there's a concept of 7-month term baby who survives? From your own statements, I prove this to you. Now, the next few words, as they're written here in the Baal Yerushalmi, have no explanation. So the Aruch brings down from the Medrash, and the Pnei Moshe quotes him here. The Medrash says, Zita apta, Tita achto, or acto. And that's a Greek term. Apta. What's 7 in Greek? What? Okay, so they say apta. Apta. Apta is 7, and acto is 8, right? So zeta apta means 7 dies. 7 survives. Sorry, zeta is lives. Tita acto. Tita is like the Yiddish toit, death, right? Which comes, I'm sure, somehow from the German tot, which comes somehow from Greek. So the 7 survives. The 7 survives. 8 dies. Okay, zeta apta, the guy who was the 7-month term dies, survives. Teta acto, the 8-month term survives. The opposite. You can't confuse. Zeta apta, the 7 months survives. Tita acto, the 8th month dies. Okay, so he proves them from an old Greek saying. Now, let's have some fun, says the Gemara. You got this kid. You don't know if he's the deceased brother's kid or the survivor's kid, right? Or the live brother's kids. So let's try again. As I say, let's have some fun. The Savi comes to take his father's portion. Says, I'm the deceased kid. So Armelei, they said, no. They say to him, Hani Avich. This guy's your father. So it's a live one. So therefore, you don't get the deceased guy's portion. You're like any other son of the live one. What if the Yavam then comes to take his deceased brother's portion? Because it says, well, he didn't let the questionable kid take, so you have to give it to me. Because Allah is that the Yavam takes over the deceased brother's portion, right? So Amalei, no, they say to him, Hani, pray, this is the guy's son. So no matter what, catch 22, no matter which way you turn, there's going to be a problem. So Ketzaros, what do? Ketzad, how do they do? Osi Shfias B'nei, they make a pshara. Shfias means to smooth things over between them. They make a compromise. The same as in the other brothers, they divide up the property with this brother and maybe with the kid. Nimtza Omer, so you say, Shfias Lachim, if there's a compromise among the brothers, Hefsei Lachim. But somebody gets lost. But Tachus Bachim, if there's competition among the brothers, that's much worse. It should be the word Shever Bachim. Then there's all sorts of breakages among the brothers. It's always better to find a compromise, even though people lose as a result. Now, continuing with our funny scenarios, what if the old man dies? In other words, the father, both the deceased brother and the surviving brother, right? He dies. So then, take out the word boim. Hare yesh bonim bevadai, right? You have definite kids, and you have, it should be uben without a yud. Uben aben besufik, and one questionable grandson. So if this kid, the grandson, is the son of the deceased father, so he would actually take an equal portion to the surviving brothers, because he gets his father's portion, right? But if he's the son of one of the surviving brothers, the grandfather died. The grandfather died, right? And the grandfather has, let's say, 4 surviving kids and 1 dead kid. And he has a grandson who might be the dead kid's son, right? So if the grandson is the dead kid's son, so then he takes his place among the 4 surviving brothers, and he's like a 5th brother, because he takes his father's place. But he is the son of one of the 4 surviving brothers of the Yavam, so he doesn't get anything until it comes down to his generation. And so that's what it says here. Right? He's just a suffix, right? So therefore he doesn't get anything right now. Mesa says he has to prove he's forgetting, he can't. Mesa suffix, what if the other way? The grandson dies, right? Who the questionable kid dies. So it should be Arei Yesh Kan, Achia Bavadi. So his father's definite brothers, right? But he has a va'av, it should be, v'safik. In other words, we know for sure that these brothers who are surviving, his uncles, right, are definitely brothers of this guy's brother, this guy's father. He might even have a live father, because maybe the Yavam is father. The Yavam is father, so his father inherits him exclusively, right? But if the Yavam is not his father, so then all the brothers distribute his property as their common nephew. So since we don't know, we have to be machmer and assume that he is their common nephew, right? Meisach Menachem, what if one of the uncles dies, right? Haresh Kanach Bevadai Ubenach Besabik. So here too, the same problem. The other brothers, surviving brothers, let's say one of the 3 surviving brothers are definite brothers, they're definite inherit. And his status is questionable. Maybe he's the son of another dead brother, in which case he takes his dead father's place and we should get an equal portion. But maybe he's the son of a surviving brother, right? And therefore he can't get anything. Mesa Emoshul Suffolk. Now, interesting case, what if the mother of the Suffolk dies, right? Now this mother, okay, Haresh had property. But so where's her property going? So in that case, her son is for sure her son. Regardless of who the father of the son was, it's her son. Right? Maybe she was Misyabemes, but the Yavam is a suffix, right? Because maybe the Yavam is vowed, maybe not. So who's going to get her property, inherit her property? The guy is definitely her son, even though usually the husband takes precedence. But in this case, since the husband is only questionable husband, since they don't know the human was vowed or not, so it goes to the son, right? Mesa Yavam, what if the Yavam dies? Uba Savek Lito, and the Savek comes to get Chelko Shlavi, the portion of his father. So, you have a Kadmayim Miskain. This is a cool case. If his original if the original brother, the one who died first, his questionable father, if he was poor, they say to him, Ani Avuch, who's your father? The first guy. You don't have a portion. You only have a portion with this uncle. You have no portion with this uncle because you're just a nephew. well, you have equal portion with the rest of us. But the point is that you're no better than the rest of us. You can't claim that you're his definite son, right? However, if the originally deceased brother was rich, normally they say, no. You're not his son. You're the son of the Yava, and therefore we get an equal portion with you in the original brothers, in the original father's portions. Normally they say, Kulon Achin B'nei Achin. All of us are brothers or children of brothers. So we inherit equally the portion of our father and the brothers of our father, or in any event, the meaning that your potential father. And the bottom line is they can compel him to divide up equally with them whatever they feel will be more to their benefits. Right?
So they're allowed to do it?
Yeah, they're allowed to, because they're Motzu Chaber Levaraya. He's got to prove that their position is incorrect. Is it great tzidkus on their part? Not necessarily. But the bottom line is they have this title. Okay, Tani, now we learned, Arisha Roy Leos Kohen goes, interesting thing, we didn't actually talk about. Let's say the Yavam, after having this questionable kid, did not get rid of the Yavam and had a second kid. Right? So the first one could be a Kohen Gadol, assuming both the fathers were Kohanim, because it's either a kosher kid for the first husband, kosher kid for the second husband, but it's kosher. But if they have another kid, a subsequent kid, Hasheni Mamzer Sabi, the second one was questionable, he might be a Mamzer. If the first kid was a kid of the Yavam, so the second kid is kosher. Second kid for the Yavam. But the first kid was a kid of the first husband, so the second kid is a Mamzer, because the Yavam is now to remain married to the Yavama, right? Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov a Mamzer Suffolk. I don't remember the sheet from the Bible, it probably is there though. There's no such thing as a Suffolk Mamzer. You're either Mamzer or not, double or nothing. Either definitely a Mamzer or not a Mamzer. Says when Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov concedes, if you have a Suffolk in a genealogy, right, not halacha, a Suffolk of somebody is a Kuti, or a Suffolk comes from family Chalolim, that kind of Suffolk is real. Now, but this is a case where you have a Suffolk in halacha, you don't say a guy's a Mamzer and a Suffolk and an halachic Suffolk. So what does Rabbi Lezer to Ben Yaakov do with that, which it says in Kiddushin, I saw Yuchsin Ol Bavel, 10 types of people came from Bavel. And two of them are Suffolk Mamzerim and Suffolk Chalolim. According to him, there's no such thing. Unless it's a national pagam, a national detriment to search by Kutim, so there's no such thing as Suffolk Mamzer, Suffolk Chol. Says, well, you're right, I'll die to Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, Shmona. According to Rabbi Lezer Yaakov, there are only 8 Yuchsim which came from Bavel. Not 10, right? Says the Gemara, top of Chaf Hei Amrav, I'll die to Rabbi Lezer, and the Rabbi Lezer hold, a woman is believed to say, if we don't know who the father is, she's believed to say the father is. Right? So that's an additional, so he takes the Tanakama there says the woman's never believed, even if she says who the father is. And if you don't know who the father is, the kid's a Suffolk Mamzer, right? But Rabbi Lezer say she's believed. And that's because, so they take off one. Right? So in other words, one of the cases mentioned there is taken off, so it's only 9. The case, since we never believe her, if we don't know the father is independently, so there are 10 types of possible people there who came from Bavel, and the cases are Shtuki and Asufi. Asufi is a kid who comes to the marketplace, you have no idea who he was, just foundling. Shtuki is a kid where you don't know who the father was, except that the mother says so. So we believe her, going to the Rabban, we don't believe her, and then you would have 10 categories instead of 9 categories. We don't pass on we pass on that she is believed. We don't pass on Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov. We say foundlings are Suffolk Mamzer and they're not allowed to marry. According to Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, there's no such thing as Suffolk Mamzer, but we pass on there is a Suffolk Mamzer. Okay, tomorrow wasn't so hard tonight, but we started late, so we'll have to stop here for this evening.